Welcome to the Sanctuary Podcast. Angel Deer is a medicine man and offers his work on sacred land through shamanic healing, energy healing, sound healing, breath work, plant medicine, and workshops and events. The Sanctuary is a community for all those who seek healing, transformation, ancient wisdom, and a place to come together to create a new way of living and relating. This is the Sanctuary Podcast, and this is Angel Deer.
So welcome on this new episode of the Sanctuary Podcast. And today I would like to talk about a subject that is becoming really dear to me at the moment, which is a subject of intimacy, that state of being intimate. So there is many synonyms for intimacy, and one of them is belonging or closeness or familiarity or nearness. But really, very often when we think of intimacy, and you talk about intimacy around you, most people think about the physical intimacy. And very often we forget that it's really not what I want to talk about today, the physical intimacy. I mean, I'll talk a little bit about it, but I want to talk more about a deeper intimacy, which is an emotional intimacy, an intimacy with self, which allow an intimacy with the world around us. And I like to think that intimacy begins with conversation, with a discussion. And it's a conversation and discussion that we need to have with ourselves first. And the first step really in intimacy is a conversation with our emotional state, with where am I today? What am I feeling? What am I experiencing? Is there anything that I'm pushing away? Is there anything that I don't want to feel? Is there anything that scares me? Is there anything that's painful? Is there anything that makes me angry or sad? So that connection with our own intimacy allows us to see ourselves first. And that's the only way we're able to truly see others. Also, Amy Bloom said that intimacy is being seen and known as the person you truly are. But the only way to be seen and known as the person you truly are is to know who you truly are. And so intimacy, the act of intimacy, of deep intimacy, of belonging, is first a connection with ourselves. And through my work with trauma over the past 10 years with my clients and more recently working with sexual trauma and studying sexual trauma or physical abuse or emotional abuse, it's been very obvious to me that to attain that capacity to be intimate with our feeling is to be first also intimate with our bodies. And our body is kind of a hard drive, memory, if I may say, of all the experience we ever had. And the body has this capacity, incredible capacity to feel, but also has a capacity to numb and to hide from the conscious mind the feelings that we're experiencing. And very often, if we have experienced some form of trauma, and we all have to some degree, when we were kids or little, and maybe someone said something, or we were bullied at school, or we felt that we were not enough, or we were afraid that our parents were going to judge us if we share or we're feeling, our body kind of shut down and start building what's called armor. And those armor are, the best way to describe them are a wall that prevents the conscious mind to access the sensation. And it's a useful mechanism because it allows you and me to go through life without being overwhelmed by all the experience we had. But it's also, and that's when it becomes problematic, it also can be a block onto your path of awakening and being fully present with others, because you cannot be fully present with all of yourself. And in shamanic work, we say that when people have trauma, it could be a car accident, it could be being abused, it could be losing someone that's very close to us, any kind of trauma, a part of our soul go away, so the soul does not feel the whole pain. And we do a practice called soul retrieval, which is to go on a journey, on a shamanic journey, to recover the part of the souls that are exiled and far from us. And this is very, very similar to some more modern psychotherapy, trauma psychotherapy approach that looks at what we call parts. And those parts of us, young parts, or parts of us that were present during the trauma, that basically are exiled from our hearts, far away from us, and we can hardly be in touch with them consciously most of the time. But those parts basically play a role in the background. And very often we might be even speaking from those parts without realizing it, just because we've been conditioned through the traumatic experience. So it's very important when we think about intimacy to think about what is that connection that I have with myself, and to be able to do some deep healing work through meditation, breath work, trauma work, that allows you to really be in contact with your body. The body is able to express itself, but will only do it if it feels safe, meaning that if you can connect with your heart and be able to welcome those intimate parts of you that maybe feel scared or feel ashamed or feel angry or feel sad. And so that's the base of the beginning of deep intimacy, starting to tap into that part of you that maybe is suffering, and maybe you don't feel that suffering, but that is expressing itself and preventing you from deep emotional intimacy with yourself and therefore with others. So when I started preparing this podcast, and I was talking to people about it, about intimacy, and I got a lot of comments and messages from you from all over the world about my blog post about intimacy. Many of you said that it opened you to be more in touch with your trauma, or be more in touch with yourself. And that's the second part really about intimacy that I want to talk about, which is that if we are able to be in touch with all of ourselves and remember all of ourselves, be present with all of ourselves, we are going to be able to allow others to be in touch with themselves. So that healing work that we do on ourselves, that sometimes might feel selfish, maybe because we are very self-focused on what happened to us, is in fact a gift to your relations. It's a gift to your partners, it's a gift to your family, it's a gift to your friend, it's a gift to your community, it's a gift to your country and to the planet. There is no way we are going able to connect to each other and see each other fully if we are not willing first to be in touch with our own anger, with our own fear, with our own shame, with anything that we believe is not okay with us. Because if not, as a reflection, we're going to start seeing in others what's broken, what's missing. But it's always a reflection of a work we have to do internally. So I really invite you to go into that process and to explore what is there for you. One of the other things that I want to share here with you, that nothing really deepens intimacy like shared vulnerability. And that's something also I've experienced. And sometime, and especially, I've experienced that with my partner, I've had a hard time maybe opening to talking about my flow, or I was scared, or I was feeling vulnerable talking about something that maybe is deeply hurting me, because maybe I was afraid of not being heard, or not being received, or not being held, or maybe being judged, or maybe being pushed away, or maybe being left. And there's nothing that can reconnect us deeply to our intimacy more than if we can have this shared vulnerability with someone.
You're listening to the Sanctuary Podcast with Angel Deer. While you're listening, browse the website at www.thesanctuaryheal.com.
And so it's almost like two big pillars. Yes, there is one part of it, which is our own work, our own self-work. But I don't believe we can completely heal those parts without others. There is a healing capacity that is given by the power of connection, by the power of love, by the power of unconditional love. And if the person that's in front of you is able to see you fully and to send that love back to you as you're sharing about your flow, your pain, maybe what you think is terrible inside of you or not lovable, and you can feel that love back, that will be a beautiful support in your capacity to become intimate. And that's a very important part of it. And in fact, there's probably nothing more intimate as an experience than to share our scary stuff with someone else. It's much easier sometimes to be physically intimate with someone, or to have superficial conversations. But if we are able to share the scary stuff, the daunting stuff, and to be received and to be heard in that vulnerability, I don't think anything creates more depth of intimacy with others. And so intimacy really means that we are safe enough to reveal the truth about ourselves in all its chaos, in all its craziness, in all its darkness, in all its beauty. And so that space that we create with someone else needs to be a free space, a space where we can engage and where there's no more walls. And that's a process with others, as it is a process with ourselves. We might go back in and might step out, and then we might go back in a little bit deeper and step back again. And I invite you in that process really to be very loving with yourself, to do a lot of self-care, and to make sure that you're not judging yourself. It's okay to step back. It's okay to not being able sometimes to talk about everything. It's okay to have pain that may be so daunting that you feel that you cannot share it with anyone because nobody maybe can receive you. It's okay to sit with it. But what I invite you is not to stay stuck in that belief and to sit with that belief. Why is that I feel that maybe I'm not able to share with someone, or maybe that I feel if I share, I'm not going to be received? Which story do I hold inside of myself that tell me that? Which experience, very often a very early experience in my life, told me that it was not going to be okay to share? And if you can keep that self-inquiry going with curiosity, with a lot of self-love, and with also a little bit of humor, realizing sometimes that it's a little bit ridiculous how we contract ourselves all the time around those subjects. you are going to be able to go deeper into that wall, into that blockage, into that tensions. And same with your body. Having the curiosity and knowing, oh, it's interesting, I cannot feel that physical connection fully, or I feel numb, or I feel pain. And just saying to yourself, what is there? What is there for me to learn? What is my body trying to tell me? Instead of saying, oh, I'm broken, or I have this and that, this is who I am. If you can go beyond that, that's really the spiritual path that we are called into, which is to be comfortable with the discomfort. It's not being comfortable with everything that's nice and easy. It's not making sometimes what's uncomfortable comfortable. If you approach that differently, saying, hey, can I be comfortable with the discomfort? Can I be comfortable with the not knowing? Can I be comfortable with the confusion? Can I be comfortable with all of that? You are going to go into a much bigger, profound depth of intimacy with yourself, because you're going to allow those parts that do not want to be intimate with you right now, or maybe you don't want to be intimate with them, because usually those parts are screaming or talking to us because they want to be heard. You're going to be able to allow that intimacy to be created. And so, like I said at the beginning of my talk, intimacy really begins with conversation. Start that conversation with yourself. Start that conversation with your emotions, with your mental processes, with your body, with your physical body, with your heart, with your soul. One of the way I like to do it is go into prayer or into nature, where the silence of it allows me to hear what's there. And then I can often become intimate, maybe with something that I don't hear during my usual life, because I'm too busy doing too many things. If I can disconnect for a moment from being engaged into social media, into TV, into any distraction that's out there, that intimacy with myself is going to grow. And so that's going to be a beautiful process. And yes, it requires courage also, as that's one of the other elements of intimacy. It's not something that is just going to happen if you wait for it. If you just sit in meditation or just go in nature and just sit there without a firm intention to be courageous and to be okay with whatever is going to be revealed, there's probably a chance that you're not going to go as deep as you could. So go as a warrior, go with courage into it, and know that whatever can be revealed there is going to be revealed in layers. I shared recently with some of you and with all of you through my blog that I discovered that I was victim of sexual trauma almost 30 years ago now, and I had no idea about it. I had no memory about it. Literally, yes, nothing that I could connect to it. And that memory only came back because I was in a container that was all about becoming intimate with the physical body, intimate with the sensation in my body. So that's one of the way we explore trauma. If you ever came to do some work with me, you know that it's a big part of what I explore when people come for trauma work. And as you go into that intimacy with the body, intimacy with your emotions, intimacy with your heart, intimacy with your soul, you are going to start having a deeper intimacy with all your relations, all our relations. So with the earth, the human beings that live here, the animals, the trees, the river, all of creations. And that intimacy allows a deeper intimacy with our soul and with God, with the Creator, with that great mystery that runs through all of creation. And it's really where the answers are. So that intimacy work is really not a work just for physical pleasure. It can be. It's not just a work for balance emotions, but it can be. It's not a work just to have a deeper connection with others, but it can be and it will be. But it's a work to get connected at the end of the day to who you are, to why you're here, to what is your purpose, to what are you supposed to do with this life. And so it's a beautiful and essential work to be done if you're on a spiritual path, if you're having those big questions. So I'm going to let you go here and remind you to be courageous, to be vulnerable, and to start this conversation. Go start with this conversation with yourself and see what's there. And I look forward to reading about your comments or your questions. And if you ever need any help on this process, please know that I'm always available to talk to you, to meet you, to hold space for you, so you can feel safer to go deeper and to see how strong you are, to go deeper into those intimate part of you that are waiting for your love to be received.
You've been listening to the Sanctuary Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Remember, we're a source of talks about spirituality, personal transformation, energy healing, shamanism, and earth-based practices. For more, visit thesanctuaryheal.com. On the website, you can find out about our events, our retreats, healing offering, our spiritual blog, and you can also register for the newsletter. Again, visit thesanctuaryheal.com. Till next time, this is the Sanctuary Podcast, and Angel Deer signing off.